guys, today we're going to do a champion spotlight called Gurp. Gurp Mossbead. Let's go and find him. Where is he? Here, he's Gurp Turk Mossbead. He is an Ogren tribe shaman slash druid. I think he lives in Durham Forest, and he kind of protects the travelers that go through Durham Forest, which is a dark elf forest that connects the kingdoms of the Bannerlords to the kingdom of the High Elves, right? If you see my lore videos, you get a good map of where Mossbeard kind of lurks, and he has some very unique abilities. This is a very unique ability. I think the only one in the game, I'm pretty sure it's the only one in the game, that puts debuffs on your own team. Some champions put debuffs on themselves, but never one that puts debuffs on all your allies. And he puts three 2.5% poisons on all allies. These debuffs cannot be resisted or blocked. So you don't have to worry about what happens if you have blocked debuffs on, or what happens if you have resistance. You cannot resist this. This is like nether spider kind of debuffs, but applied to your own team. And you might be thinking, oh, that doesn't sound good. Also has an 80% chance of placing block buffs when booked, 100% chance on all enemies. Right, so this is a placement move. It doesn't attack anyone, it doesn't do damage, therefore it cannot weak hit. Provided you have enough accuracy, the block buffs will land, the poisons will always land. Okay, and then all allies under poison debuffs inflict 7.5% more damage for each poison debuff on them, stacking up to 30%. So if you have 3, that's like 22.5% extra damage, right? So a single Gurp gives you a 22.5% damage boost. If you want to conceptualize how much this is, think about weaken is 25%. So this is effectively like a slightly weaker weaken, right? Also increases your resistance a little bit, okay. His A2 is remove all debuffs except poison debuffs from an ally, then heals them by 30% of their max HP, which is a decent heal, and places a shield buff on them equal to 20% of their max HP. So this is equal to 50% overall, right? Roughly speaking. So that's not bad at all, right? And removes debuffs like crowd control. And then finally an A1 that actually hits, like it does good damage. Attacks one enemy 2 times, so 2 hitter, places a 15% continuous heal buff for 1 turn on all allies under poison debuffs, which is all your allies, right? If you use this after your A3. So it's pretty decent, you know, his kit is actually decent, right? So what do we use him for, right? We use him for 2 reasons. The first reason is you want an extra damage buff, a pure damage buff that doesn't depend on the enemy. 22.5% on top of defense down and weaken is huge. It is really big. Okay, I think only Beck does something similar like this damage buff, and I don't have Beck. Okay. The second reason you want to use him in Arena is to give you this block buffs. A lot of champions do block buffs, but very few of them do placing without actually hit. That means you can't weak hit. And as far as I can remember, there are not many, if any, void champions that do block buffs. Okay, so let's look at some examples. Like if you didn't use Gurp, who would you be forced to use, right? The first one that you might be using is Ugo. Ugo here has this decreased defense and block buffs. But the problem is this is attack all enemies and he's magic. So you're likely to weak hit on force champions, and you really don't want to miss your decreased defense and block buffs on force champions. Thinking about Mountain King, thinking about Kandra, Rector. If you're lower down in Arena, you're thinking about Razing. Lots of strong force champions, okay? Another one that people might be familiar with but don't necessarily use in that way is a demon spawn, right? That we sometimes see in Arena is Mortu. Mortu also has attacks all enemies 2 times. Each hit has a 100% chance of placing block buffs. So double hitter, each hit 100%. This cannot be resisted if the enemies are already under heal reduction. The problem is there are no champions, as far as I know, that do irresistible heal reduction, so your accuracy check has to be somewhere. I think Susan Catone used to a very long time ago before a patch, but no longer. And also, you probably don't want to build Mortu for high accuracy, right? Because you want him for high HP for peril. So there are other champions. For example, as I demonstrated in an earlier video, there is also Lady Kimmy. Lady Kimmy here on her, I think it's her A3, has block buffs, but it's conditional on removing enemy buffs, right? Okay, which is, not great, not great. Okay, so I think there are a few other champions, but none quite like Gurp. Boost your damage by 22.5%, and then actually blocks buffs on enemies, which is super useful against SP, against champions like Siphi and Duchess, etc. etc. We'll demonstrate that later. But it's not just 22.5% extra damage. So for example, if you go to my champions and you go to Masteries, a lot of you will be familiar with this mastery here called Stoke to Fury. Stoke to Fury in the offense tree increases damage inflicted by 4% for each debuff on this champion, stacks up to 12%. So if you have 3 debuffs, you do 12% extra damage, right? That is, so 22.5 plus the 12%, you're looking at 34.5% extra damage. That is huge. That's more than a third extra damage. That is absolutely huge. That is, I think, more than defense down gives you, okay? So if you see my ethos, or ethos, or however you want to call him, ethos, he will do 33% extra damage against 33 or 34% extra damage against enemies when paired with Gurp. I also have a separate video demonstrating Gurp with Rule, who's not using Stoke to Fury, but can also do insane damage, right? I'm gonna do some demonstrations, right? Okay, let's do some demonstrations. The first area to demonstrate when Gurp first came out was Spider 20, before we had 25s. And here, I don't know if I have a team. Yes, I do have a team. Here I have a team. You can see that Septimus is leading. It doesn't have to be Septimus. You can put Royal Guard lead to do a little bit more extra damage. It's fine. And then you have a guaranteed defense down from Ghostborn with attack up as well. And you have a guarantee, you don't have a guarantee, but you have Gurp to add guaranteed extra damage, right? Guaranteed extra damage. So this is a reasonably fast team, like 10, 14 seconds kind of team. And you can just run this, for example. And you can see, if we put it on 1x, Gurp adds poisons to everyone, boosts their damage, right? We do defense down, and we just nuke using the Royal Guard, and then Septimus. Ideally, you want Septimus to go before one of the Royal Guards, but the idea is just the full damage, okay? So if we just do that again, we'll put it on 2x. This is a very reliable 100% farm for Spider 20, and because you guarantee that defense down, but the problem is with guaranteed defense down, you don't get weakened like Lydia, so you need that extra damage boost from Gurp, right? Unless you have insane gear on your Royal Guard and Septimus. Okay, so that's the first kind of use for Gurp. Then we're gonna go to Arena. Here in Arena, we will be looking for teams that may have some kind of SP gear, right? So maybe something like this. This might have SP. So what we will try to do is do something like this. For example, we will put Gurp here. So the idea here is that I do attack up, then I do defense down with Madame, we do Gurp to block buffs, and then we do Yannicka to kill, right? And if SP triggers on their Duchess or on their Mortu, it won't, because the block buffs will stop it, okay? So they can put all their buffs up. We will strip, we will block, see, block buffs, and then we will safely kill, for example, their Necrit first. Even if they have SP, it really doesn't matter. Then we'll nuke. Okay, so that's how you would use it, right? Okay, you got to be quite fast because you only have one booster in this case, and you make sure that their Mountain King or their Necrit doesn't kind of ally attack you or attack you in some kind of way. So that's the idea. Okay, here's another team. We do defense down, we do block bars, and then we nuke. And we A1 to win. Okay, we can find more teams like this. Just get tokens. Oops, wrong one. This one can be quite hard. Okay, survive that because it didn't survive that. Okay. Probably just do that. Ooh, counterattack. Ouch. Okay, okay. Okay. There we go. So in terms of the gear, you can see that it's just perception. I have quite high accuracy for Gurp with the Eagle Eye Mastery. So I'm aiming for around 700 accuracy, good speed, 239 speed. Some other masteries like Evil Eye, etc, etc. Yeah, so nothing special, not even 16 gear. It's the stats that matter.